Sure. No, that's the question is.
TV online is the future.
I remember, I'm old enough to remember when the TV came in. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm older than you.
I know that.
Much
Thank
older.
goodness somebody's older than me.
And I remember people were saying, oh, this will be the death of radio because TV, everybody ran to see the TV, and in fact, TV is more exciting. What has happened to the radio, for example?
I'm a professional business broadcast journalist now for my full-time job, and I produce 5 hours of live business content in a roundtable format for. I work for one of the I work for one of the world's biggest business software companies, SAP, and that's my full-time job now. So I know that radio has morphed or transitioned itself from what we call terrestrial stations with the tower and the control board to being done. Oh, well, terrestrial is on the ground really, not satellite. And then we have Sirius Radio, which is satellite. But radio is becoming the medium has moved successfully to the internet, where it's on demand. I do my shows live, but they're also podcast and available on demand. I have listeners to my business shows in well over 200 countries, regions, states. The U.S. states are counted as regions or areas. And I've got about 20,000 listeners a month to a total of 10 different series I produce. I do time slot sharing.
So basically, the future of radio and TV is on demand. Internet.
It's on demand. However, here's another thing I want to tell you about. I recently learned, earlier this year, I learned that there is a private production company here on Long Island called Madhouse TV, where some friends of mine who've been on my shows now produce their own TV shows. There is not a channel. There is no studio. It's a place with cameras, and they live stream up to the internet for global access, live, and then podcast. They do not have a TV station. It's not Madhouse Channel 22, it's just Madhouse TV, so you go to the website and you have access to all the shows. So that, I think, is the way TV is going to go.
Well, the TV is also trying to say
streaming,
TV on demand, TV on demand, and
that's
films on demand. But yet, it's the internet that has taken over both the radio and the TV.
Yes.
I don't know what will happen in the next 20 years.
I don't think it's going to knock us out.
Even though the TV is not TV itself, it's a production, content production, and so is radio in a sense.
I don't think it's going to knock out studio productions at all. I think people are still used to.
It will lessen the importance of TV. Don't you think?
No, I think it's another access method. I don't think it's going to lessen the importance of anything. I think people are spoiled. Some people don't want a TV set that is paying a cable fee. Some people don't want to watch the shows, the mainstream shows on networks. They don't care about the political stations. They want the whole wide world of on-demand access, and that's the world of visual production, which you would call TV.
I find myself, I watch more internet now because the subject you want to know about or learn about, it's there, not on TV. TV, you have to watch what they present to you.
I think the menu has expanded. I think we're spoiled. I think we want what we want now, when we want it, how we want it. I want to watch on my iPhone. I want to watch on my iPad. I want to watch on my TV. I want to watch on one of my 3 computers at home. I want to watch what I want when I want it, when I have the time.
So it's an exciting
It's very exciting.
future.
So I think it's just given us more choices, and we're in this I want to choose mode. I think the world is in I want to choose. Now, when do I have time?
But would you say the radio is still
very viable?
high, let's say, for people who are on the go, in cars and things like that? Or
yes, I think radio is...
That's essential.
Any medium where you're going to communicate with people, whether it's TV or radio, what starts at TV or radio, I believe has to have an on-demand version or on-demand flavor that will allow you to reach the audience when they want to watch or listen. And I think that's the importance of surviving TV and radio is on demand.
Obviously, you are on internet.
Yes.
How can people reach you, or how can they see your program?
Well, if they go to Vimeo.com, Vimeo.com, they can probably just search for Bonnie D. Graham, or they can go to Vimeo.com/channels, CHANNELS. / and the channel number is 170669. So it's a specific address. Not technical at all. It's a URL. It's an address.
If I go
to Vimeo
Google,
and search for my
name,
you'll find me.
Come up.
You will find me. You'll find my radio. You'll find me on TV everywhere.
Is the TV Bonnie D. Graham TV an internet?
Bonnie TV
is a
website, but I don't stream my shows there. My TV shows are on Vimeo. My radio shows Monday night are on Blog Talk Radio. So the name of the show, if you go to blogtalkradio.com and put in Bonnie D. Graham, Read My Lips will come up, and I've done hundreds of shows there.
Really?
Just Google Bonnie D. Graham. You'll find more than you even want to know.
Well, I like to speak one more subject with
Sure.
you, okay? You are so versatile that today I learned you do things that I did not know, but I know you do also writing.
Yeah.
You were working for the Great Neck newspaper?
I was the co-editor, assistant editor of the Great Neck
But you were
Record
writing.
for a year, yes. 1998, way back.
Oh, it only lasted 1 year?
I was just there 1 year. It was in between corporate jobs.
I see.
Yes, but I still do business
But you have
writing.
a talent in writing. I mean, you
thank you.
seem to be free.
I write all the copy for all my radio and TV shows, so yes, I still write.
Any creative writing perspective for the near future?
I don't know. I don't know. Yes, I don't know creative writing. Maybe I still.
You did not try poetry, for example?
I did a lot of poetry. Back in the day. I have a little book of handwritten poems. I wrote 100 of them.
You never published them?
Never published them. But
has anybody seen them?
My family.
Just your family?
They were just personal poems between me and my mother and my children, and, that was it. Yeah, I have a book somewhere, handwritten. I put a gold binding on it.
Maybe one day it's another program. I would like you to read your poems.
Maybe one day.
How about prose? Have you tried, or do you have a thing in mind? After all,
I was an entertainment reporter. Stringer means part-time for Long Island Entertainment Magazine and for the. I'm trying to think of the name, the Improper magazine, and I used to go to Westbury Music Fair as a reporter and write up reviews of the late Joan Rivers and the Smothers Brothers and Basha, one of my favorite singers, and I did reports at Neil Sedaka, Johnny Mathis. I reviewed and Long Island Comedy Festival. So I was a reporter writer, but there was a lot of creative bandwidth in those types of reporting.
No, my question is,
You want me to be a writer next?
Yeah, well, creative. For example, you could start writing your own life.
Nobody would care. Nobody would care about it.
How do you know? Your children would.
My children know who I am. That's fine. They're not going to read about it.
They know everything about you?
They know plenty. That's enough. No. But Vito, television for me and for you chronicles our lives, who we've been, our journeys over the past 20 years. We've seen you get a little bit older and a little wiser. We've seen me change my hair color 5,000 times. We've seen all of the personal changes, and I think we've created a legacy through public access TV of who we are.
No, but writing is also lasting, or at least people.
I have a blog.
Oh, you have a blog.
I have a blog on WordPress. I also teach blogging, and I have written about 20 blog posts.
You also teach, which is
yes. I also teach part-time technology topics. But yes, so yeah, I blog from. That's where I do my creative writing, on my blog.
Oh, okay, please try, because I think you.
Thank you, Vito. You've inspired me.
We have reached the end, and we will have a second part very soon.
Pleasure,
so
Vito.
stay here. Don't move.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have here Bonnie D. Graham. She is a radio and TV personality, and we have been talking about some of her experience in TV and radio. And now we would like to speak to her about maybe a little more personal, so that the TV viewers may have a little more idea, a better idea of the person that she is. I think she's wonderful and courageous, takes initiative and chances, and therefore I think it will come up, I hope. So thank you again.
Thank you, Vito. Is this Bonnie D. Graham unmasked? Can I leave now?
No. So
sure.
We did speak about the radio, TV,
yes,
which was good. But now, if we can, if you don't mind, let's be a little more personal, because then
sure.
the TV viewers may know more about who you are. I think
sure.
there is a
Ask
lot
away.
to be known, especially certain things that older TV viewers may find it similar experience, and therefore it will be helpful.
Sure.
After all, we are now. I was bad to give a
No,
forbidden
no.
word, but we are adults, and
Yes.
we can give examples of life conduct.
Sure.
So, now, first of all, you are a New York, not a New York resident, but a Great Neck resident, right?
Yes, for about 28 years.
28 years. You were not born here in Great
I was
Neck.
born in. I was born here. I was born in Flushing, New York. My mother was a nurse. My dad was a doctor, an MD, and I believe our first apartment where I was born in Flushing. And then they built a home in Douglaston.
Ah, it's close.
So I grew up about 3 miles from where I live now. So I'm very, very, very much a New Yorker and a Long Islander.
So you came here later on.
Yes, yes. I went to school at Sarah Lawrence College. I met the man I married, and he was a West Coast guy, and he moved us to Eugene, Oregon, and I lived there for 10 years, and then I dissolved the marriage and came back to New York with my children. And but first we lived in let's see, New Haven, Connecticut, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Then we moved cross country to Eugene, Oregon. Then I came back to New York, and that's when I relocated to Great Neck with my children in the mid-1980s.
Boy, you moved around.
We did move around.
I imagine
yes.
he had a profession that took
Well, it
him
was
places.
all, we were students, basically.
Oh, I see.
was
You
at
were-
Sarah Lawrence, he was at Yale University, so I moved to New Haven, and I commuted to Bronxville by train I came down for 3 days every week, 4 days. Sunday night I took the Amtrak, went to Sarah Lawrence in Bronxville, and stayed there, dormed there, and then went back, then stayed with my parents on Thursday night in Douglaston, then took the train back to New Haven on Friday, and I was a wife, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I did that for at least one semester. Then, let's see, then he went to Harvard Architecture, and I had left Sarah Lawrence because as a married couple, we had to go where we're going. So he went to Harvard Architecture, and I transferred my credits to Boston University, and I finished my bachelor's degree with a major in psychology, and I don't remember what a minor was, in magna cum laude in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And by then I had a son, and my son, who is now a corporate attorney, a very, very interesting young man, and a dad, and I have 2 grandchildren with him. He went to Radcliffe Daycare. So Harvard Radcliffe, you know, the sister and brother schools had a daycare program. So I like to say my son at the age of 3 was a Harvard Radcliffe student. And then I went to BU, and I biked my son on the back of my bike during the summers to Harvard Square, dropped him at daycare, then I took the trolley into Boston, went to school, and then came back and did the route. So
What did your husband become as a professional?
He became an architect.
See.
An architect.
What you have been telling me now is that you followed him.
I did,
And then-
until I left him, and then I
Yeah,
followed me.
But
yes,
in other words, you did to help him a lot, and then
Yes.
eventually things broke up. And,
Yes.
And you don't regret the fact that you were actually helping him become something. It
not
was,
at all. Not at all.
Now,
No.
you said you have one son who became an attorney?
And I have a daughter who's a physician, an MD. Yes.
Oh, they are adults now?
Oh, yes, yes. They're in their
And
40s.
you have only 2 grandchildren?
2 grandchildren with my son, no grandchildren with my daughter. Yes, she's an MD, pediatric gastroenterologist, pediatric GI specialist, and she just left clinical practice to work for pharmaceutical industry. She just started a new job, and she has a husband, and they're a lovely couple, and they're building a home in North Carolina. That's all I'll say.
So you must be a very proud mother.
I'm exceedingly proud, Vito, because I raised my children from the time my daughter was 3 and my son was 8. I raised them as a single mom, as a single working mom, and it was filled with challenges and decisions.
I'd like to know, I wanted to go deep into this single mom challenges. You know, I have to be honest, my mother was also a single mom, and she had to raise 5 kids, and it was not easy.
Wow.
It was not
Well,
easy.
if I raised 2 and it wasn't easy, I can multiply it and
So
imagine.
tell me, because I think you can tell me more about this. It's not easy. Right? Unfortunately, men sometimes they just abscond from their responsibilities, and they find one excuse or the other to get away. I'm not trying to excuse them, but the fact is, it's a reality, and sometimes, and the woman usually gets up paying.
Sometimes it's the other way around. The woman absconds and the man ends up, and we see that more and more in male custody battles. However, it was challenging. It was scary. I was a very protected and coddled young girl from Long Island, daughter of a doctor and a nurse, in a middle class, not well-to-do, not wealthy, but very comfortable home. I never had to work when I was a teenager. I didn't have jobs. I went to an excellent college. My father was glad to pay for, and I went to summer camp in my teens, and I had my own boat at 18, and I was not pampered, but I knew what a good life was.
Maybe.
And here I was, married young, and then one child, and then the second child. And then I decided that the marriage was not able to survive. So I made the decision to become a single mom. I didn't have to, but I did. It took a tremendous amount of courage. And then I realized I had to support myself. So for the first time.
And then you came to Great Neck.
Well, let me start this.
Sure.
The first time, at the age of 27, I was contemplating a life of being alone with 2 children, and I needed to support them because my husband was not a working professional, which was part of the issue, and he was allergic to jobs at that point. He was a creative genius, but not a worker type of a person.
That was not the issue where there was no work around, as it is today, for example.
It was his choice. He just emotionally wasn't prepared to do that. And so I saw the handwriting on the wall. I sought legal advice, and my attorney said, get out, take the children, and go to work. Well, what was I going to do? Here I am, 27 years old. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. My goodness, you know, the popular of the 60s, we all wanted to be psychologists and cure the world or define its problems and make everybody feel better. Woohoo. Anyway.
Very popular subject.
So here, talk about family support. Very interesting. Not monetary, little bit, but here's the deal. I said to my parents, what am I going to do? And they started gathering brochures for me of things I could do with 1 or 2 years of extra training or college to become a professional in something. And they mailed me a stack of brochures. They were in New York, I'm in Eugene, Oregon, and they were fantastic parents, and I made a whole big fan out of these. I laid out all the brochures, and one stuck out. It said computer programmer. I said, wow, that sounds interesting. It sounds like I could use my brain. What in the world is it? Well, I talked to couple of friends.
And it was a future. That's a
big future. Talked to some friends, and they said, guess what? We have a community college 5 miles from here. You could take the bus there. I didn't have a car. Was newly divorced, living in an apartment. They said, you could take the bus. One of them drove me there, and I went in and applied. I said, I have a bachelor's degree. They said, good, you can go here. It was not quite free, but pretty darn close.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I want to be in computer programming. And they said, well, it's such a popular class, standing room only filled. But here's the deal. A lot of people will try it, and most of them will drop out. So they said, you will book a seat in this class, this beginning computer programming, programmer analyst class, and stick with it for a couple of weeks, and we guarantee the classroom will be almost empty. Well,
that's what happened.
That's exactly what happened. What happened in those days, Vito, this was in the mid-70s, is that people were coming out of other professions like architecture, even law, medicine, who were disillusioned and didn't want to do it. And they thought, what could I do with my life? Computer programming sounds like it's the wave of where we want to go. So people were coming from these so-called, from the professions that they decided not to pursue. So I was in a class with not a bunch of 18-year-olds who said, boy, community college, it's almost free, let's try it, I have nothing to do. These were young adults like me in their 20s, even 30s. Who were changing careers, mid-20s, 30s. So we were a smart bunch. I literally dove into the bottom of the pool for programming. It was a eureka moment. I was consumed and captivated with becoming a programmer. It was amazing. I ended up getting a job working for the community college with my 2-year degree, and I graduated 4.0 on top of my bachelor's degree magna cum laude.
Wow.
I aced every test, every class. I was a mom.
Well, you were a veteran then. And
I was a veteran.
Graduated.
I had the 2 kids in daycare. Daycare was a block from the apartment. I wheeled my daughter in the carriage and my son hanging on, and they went to Mrs. Buckles, who had a private daycare in her house.
Who was supporting you then? Your parents?
My parents were helping. I had a little bit of savings. It wasn't a lot of money, but life was inexpensive. It wasn't. I lived in a small apartment. I rented at that time, and life was okay. I had no complaints.
So you started, in a sense, picking up the pieces.
Totally, but at the same time, I started, the world of disco dancing had started, and I tasted a little bit of it when I came to New York to visit my parents in the summer. So I went back and started meeting people who were disco dancers. I ended up becoming a disco dance instructor with my first class with over 250 people in a high school cafeteria.
Oh, wow.
And I danced on a Formica table in Little Hills with a dance partner.
Talking about flexibility.
Then I became a Mary Kay cosmetic salesperson. So I started a Mary 100K career. I was dancing on the side. I was teaching dancing, and I was going to school, and then the school hired me.
Was that all of this because of psychology, that you felt insecure?
No.
Obviously, the pressure of having to pay bills was there, no?
Life was just getting exciting for me. I wanted to use my brain. I wanted to help my children. I said to my kids point blank, you want to study French in school when foreign language came up? That's fine. You want to study Spanish? Go talk to somebody else. I have many years of French. I can help you with your homework. Spanish, I'm sorry, off the. So they both studied. We did our homework together. My son and my daughter and I, the three of us, like a little unit. They introduced me to Star Trek on TV, which was already in its second lifetime. I never watched it. I was busy. They introduced me to MASH, and we did our homework together. I did my programming on green bar paper, handwriting all my code. I was a COBOL programmer, and my kids did their homework. So we were 3 kids, basically. I tell people they raised me, and I'm very proud of that, Vito.
So what were you doing? While the children were going to school, you went to work? Is it?
I was in school for 2 years, and then I was a full-time employee of Lane Community College, running a statewide community college information system, working with a consultant in another part of the state.
You were free about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock?
No, I didn't get home till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I worked a full-time job right out of school. The college hired me to run this system. They liked my skills, they liked my dedication. So having never worked, at about the age of 29, I went headlong into my first full-time job. The first day I was there, I looked around, I said to somebody, do I have to stay till 5 o'clock? They said, yeah, Bonnie, that's what a job is. I said, I've never had
There was no hour flexibility at the time,
I've never had to stay anywhere till 5 o'clock in my life. I never worked. So I was successful in my job, and I became a professional mainframe computer programmer, which I did for several years.
Several years.
Before I came back to New York.
Oh, before you